Hello everybody, I hope you're doing really well. In this episode we're going to take a look at all of the standing and running rigging issues that we are aiming to improve. That's why we're heading north, so we can get some assistance and guidance from our friend up in Annapolis. I would like to hear many of your comments as well, especially those of you who have sailboats and or are sailors, because the last thing that we have really attended to on our boat is improvements in these areas, and now it's time to do that. Hope you enjoy the video. So one of the things that helps me to identify and to think clearly is to break down things into three separate areas. When you look at this sailboat, it's basically active in three different settings. And as we identify each setting, I can then begin to look and see how can I improve this boat in each of these settings. So, for instance, setting number one is when the boat is at anchor. A sailboat at anchor requires certain things, and for comfort and for safety. The second area is a sailboat that is sailing or motoring or motor sailing. It's a sailboat that's on the move. What are some of the things that this boat needs improvement in? And lastly, you can think of a sailboat to be able to do that most effectively at a marina, and to think through what are some of the things that can make this sailboat more livable and enjoyable at a marina. So when I break down the boat into kind of three actions, it helps me to kind of see clearly. Now, obviously, as you improve the boat in one area, it may overlap and also provide improvement for that boat in another action or area. Let's take a look first and see how to improve this boat when it's moving. For our boat, that means the rigging. It's time to take a look and see what we've already done, how we've improved it, and then what we need to do to be able to get this boat out sailing much more and to become more confident sailing so we can go offshore and go to the places that we want to go. Well, for starters, we replaced our Traveler. The original Traveler was very old and not really functional, and this was a really nice Traveler that we had made for us from Garhauer. We've also replaced these nice sheet blocks from Garhauer, as well as these cheek blocks as well. So we have good blocks that have been replaced. That's an improvement. Plus, one thing I like about our Traveler is it's right by the helmsman. You can use the Traveler right from the helm. A lot of boats, they're kind of, hard to get to. We have a roller furler, which we understand now how to use, which at first we had problems with because it would not roll back up on our sea trial. But our friend from Annapolis made a special pennant to tie into it to enable it to work properly. And as long as you wind it up right, it works really good. Now, concerning the sails, we had two sails that came with it. One was the Genoa, which was a nice big sail that also had the sunbrella strip, but the sailmaker who reviewed it said it was basically worthless. The one we've been using is our JIT, which I actually like because it enables you to have a good view. Sometimes that longer Genoa can kind of block view a little bit. So at any rate, we have one functional jib as a foresail. We do not have a Genoa. As far as the quality of the jib that we have, I really don't know how to evaluate that. I do know that sails are very expensive, and I would like to get new sails. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to, and if we were going to get a new sail, it would be the new mainsail. The next thing that has to get fixed is the baby stay. They say the baby stay is the one engineering flaw on the Moody 34, and basically it's simply that the baby stay is not anchored into a bulkhead. It's anchored into the deck itself. It's fiberglassed in. As a result, it begins to lift up a bit. So my friend is going to design a backing plate that we're going to anchor into the bulkhead itself. You can see the bulkhead right here. And that's how it should have been installed originally. Once we get that baby stay installed and anchored in properly, then when the mast flexes back and forth from the waves, it'll be securely attached. I've had a professional rigger say to me that it's fine for where we are, but not to go offshore until that baby stay is anchored properly. The next thing is A lot of sailors like to go up on the deck to handle the sails, but we don't. And we'd like to have all of the lines run back to the cockpit so we do not have to leave the cockpit to put in reefs or to raise or lower the sails. Again, my friend has done a little bit of designing. We're going to take a look at some of the blocks that I need to order from Garhauer, and we're going to install them so that we can have the rigging run back to the cockpit. Here's what it looks like in boats that have that done. On our boat, to run the lines back into the cockpit, it looks easy enough, although there is a rise on the back part of the deck here, so I'm not sure how we're going to do that. Will we put blocks underneath the deck organizer to bring up the lines, or will we drill right through that? Not really sure, but either way, it'll be great to be able to raise and lower the mainsail from the cockpit as well as put in reefs. One of the improvements I'd like to get on the boat is to get a proper windlass. We have anchored out several times and we have pulled in the 60 feet of chain and the 110 feet of rope spliced in on the road. And usually it's not a problem, but I do know that if it was the middle of the night and we were tired and we were starting to drift, it would be great to have a windlass. So I've been starting to look at some of the different windlasses that would fit our boat, and this is an important addition. All of the liveaboards and all the long-distance cruisers that I've spoken to said that a windlass is really important, especially anyone that was over 30 years old, because it can be quite tiresome, especially if you have to do it several times in one night to lift up your anchor. So a windlass is something that's on my list, and that would be something that's very important and necessary, and it's one of the things that we have a preference for. Not everyone might need a windlass, but certainly we feel it would come in extremely handy. Now I'm showing some shots of our anchoring system as it stands, and as you can see, our roller furler is connected right into the roller for the anchor. And I know that there are other boats that also have this, but it seems like ours is really close to the pin that keeps the roller furler connected to the top of the mast. So it just seems a little tight. Here are some other sailboats to take a look and see how their roller furler connects into their roller for their anchor. You know, I would actually love to redesign our roller so that the roller furler wasn't so close to the anchor itself. So I hope this video gives you guys a glimpse at what we're going to do to improve the boat. The main thing is the rigging, bringing all the lines back into the cockpit. That's a big step, as well as thinking through this issue with our windlass. As I mentioned earlier in the video, it helps me to think about the boat in 3 different stages. One, at a marina, what do we need to live comfortably? We don't have any water tanks, for instance, and we do not have climate control. Those are 2 things that we could improve. And then also at anchor. At anchor, I believe we need a windlass as well as the battery power to power ourselves at anchor. And lastly, cruising and moving from different place. That's the travel part of it. If we can accomplish these 3 next step main issues for our boat, I believe we'll be able to move forward and go to the places offshore that we are intending to go to.
Hey everybody, well, it's a beautiful day here and we're getting the boat ready to head back out to head north, and thanks for watching. Stay tuned. More adventures to come.